get down to our introduction. My man's is going to tell us about some things. Proud to introduce Eddie Saunsoci. Sorry about that. An Afro-Indigenous storyteller that uses creative media to amplify the voice of the unheard. As a cultural documentarian, he's prideful of his North Omaha upbringing and Indigenous Omaha tribe traditions. His work centers around acknowledging and processing generational trauma from many angles and perspectives. He's on the board for Men Against Domestic Violence Action Coalition and runs his own creative agency, Alter Digital. He facilitates a course on digital storytelling for middle school students and visual storytelling platform, The Ancestors. Welcome, Eddie.
All right. Sorry, guys. This is taking a long time to start this up. But I guess I can introduce myself. Edward Saunsoci. I grew up in North Omaha. I'm actually Umaha tribe. Last name Saunsoci. It's a very good attempt, Steve. Biophilia. When Kim initially asked me, I'll be honest, I thought that this topic wasn't for me. The word kind of jumped out to me, and I'm like, I don't know if that's me. And then she kind of like, no, there's a story you shared with me, and it was about your trip to Standing Rock. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I figured out that it was about the love of the land and the connection that we have. And so for me, Standing Rock was very powerful. And for those who don't know, Standing Rock was it was like the largest gathering of Indigenous people in America. I think in history, I'm pretty sure, but we all had one common goal, and that was to protect the water. And then that saying was Mini Wachoni. My Standing Rock experience was from September to November 2016. It actually started when I seen a video on Facebook, power of social media. It was specific to, there was these bulldozers coming through and they were desecrating these sacred burial grounds. And the company didn't know where the burial grounds were until the Indigenous people kind of told them, hey, you guys' pipeline is very close to our burial grounds. And they said, no, it's not. And then they're like, yeah, it is. And they sent them the layout of where they were. And then all of a sudden, the next day, they went and tore these the sacred burial grounds up. And so it infuriated me. I was riled up. And then in seeing the video, I seen like a little girl. There was dogs there. Dogs' noses bleeding. People got bit. They were macing people left and right. And so there was a natural, compelling, a visceral reaction. I'm like, oh, like something has to be done. And so in me feeling that, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just know I needed to do something. And so the next day I had a coffee with my wife, girlfriend then at the time. And I told her, I was like, so actually, before I say this, let me preface this. I had a slideshow and I had a picture of us and our family, and we're a happy family right now. But when we were at coffee, I said, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to Standing Rock and I'm gonna leave here at the end of the week. I was so hyped and ready to share that. And she said verbatim, she kind of looked at me and said, I think we need to reevaluate our relationship. And so for me, like it kind of threw me off, but within it, I was like, later on, I realized what it was, and I was kind of going on my gut instinct of something that made me feel a certain way. And it was hard trying to convince her, but it worked. She was actually very, very supportive of it when I was up there. And we got a baby out of it. I got a paper downtown that proves that, it was a good decision. But convincing it to my mom that I was going up there was the other thing. And so I didn't tell her until I was about 180 miles up the road. And so when I told my mom, she said verbatim, I knew you were going to go up there. So in her saying that, she was trying to be supportive, but she was scared. And so I was like, okay, Mom, you know what? I'll write a blog every day so you can know what's going on. Of course, I didn't write a blog every day, but I started up a small blog just documenting my experience. And I'll be honest, I got a lot more traction than I thought. I thought it was gonna be just my friends and family, close proximity to me, and that wasn't the case. Someone told me, "Hey, bro, you should make a GoFundMe. I want to send you some money to help support you." I was like, "Oh, okay." Created it. Had a lot of people reach out and support financially, in which I was kind of blown away by. I was like, "Whoa!" So in going up there, the blog, like I said, it did pretty well. I had crazily bad grammar. The slideshow I have like a picture of it and stuff, but one of the things that it said on there, I'll read it here specifically, that it spoke to me. But I have a picture. Basically, there was these lines of officers. We went to multiple sites to pray, and we weren't protesters. We were literally prayerful warriors. We were out there praying that the Creator hears us out. That why are these men doing this? Why aren't they seeing that this is an attack on a people here? And we didn't see it as just the Lakota. We've seen it as everyone, because water is life, and that they were trying to tunnel or put a pipeline underneath water. This water supply for the Standing Rock tribe. And so in them seeing like, oh, these things are good, we were really praying like, wow, like we really want and we believe that the Creator is going to come through on this. And so in my blog I wrote, it seemed as though they were relieved. So again, there was this line of them, and then it's all of us, and I'm there, I'm taking a selfie, and I can see the whole line of them. And then all of a sudden, one of our guys, he walked all the way to the end of the officers, and he started shaking their hand one by one, walking down. And so as everyone was doing it, I was like, all right, that's good. Like, that's what we need. And so I head over there. We all start shaking hands. And this is just one of the excerpts from it. It says, it seemed as though they were relieved. I shook majority of their hands, but there were a few who chose not to shake our hands, but it was all good. Because of those that didn't, there were 90% that did. I know what they're doing. They know what we're doing is good, but they have a job to do. And so do we. So within that post right there, that was one of the most quoted. I had a whole bunch of messages from that little part, because people kind of responded like, "Oh my God!" Like I got goosebumps reading that, just because they seen I had a whole bunch of stuff happening. I had got arrested. I had video. Thomas was actually there with me. He had a video that kind of blew up on social media when I got arrested, and he was like, "Free Eddie," and it was kind of cool in the moment when it was happening, but it was very scary for my mom. So she's watching his stream live, and as they're leaving, Thomas is like, "Where's Eddie? Where's Eddie?" Some guy, he gets in, he's like, "He should know, bro. He should know. Like we gotta go." And so I did get arrested. They said we were trespassing. We weren't. We were on the county road, and it was just kind of like, wow, like there really isn't uh, a news source that's documenting what's happening, because for them to say trespassing and for us to like, we're on a county road, it's public access. And so for me, I started to realize, okay, something's happening where our story's not being heard. So then, like I said, Thomas, I met Thomas. You guys, what's cool is you guys actually all met Thomas now too. So I met Thomas. He's from a Hooper tribe out of Northern Cali. He taught me about his people, their indigenous sovereignty, and mine. I had a small concept of it, but never knew what it really meant. And he kind of told me some stories about how his people, they never left their ancestral lands. They're one of all the 500 recognized tribes that never left their ancestral lands. And when he said that, that was very powerful to me. I was like, wow. He was like, yeah, man, they came in, they tried to take us back, put us on the res, but our people just knew our land so well, and we kept going back. And it was so hard for them to traverse the land, because over in Northern Cali, it's just mountains. And so I was really intrigued by it, and I was just like, man, what's the story about my people? So growing up in North Omaha, I didn't have access to my tribe, my mom, my aunts, but they were a part of what they call the, I think it was called the Indian Removal Act, and that was of 1830. So their families were moved prior to them, and so a lot of things happened in which they separated natives from half of their people. Like they did it on purpose. Like, hey, we'll give you some funding to kind of get you. It's just to assimilate into Western culture. And so being separated, seeing that video, seeing my people like struggling and all of that, it, like I said, I went up. It was that gut instinct. I was like, I need to do this. And so in going up there, I, I was blown away by the love when I went into camp. I had a whole bunch of pictures, but it's about Standing Rock specifically, and the pictures that I took. They're not good pictures, actually. This is when I very first started taking pictures. I had bought the camera on the way up there from some lady on Craigslist. It was like a Sony Cyber Shot. It was terrible for taking pictures, but it was fun. I was learning. I met a whole bunch of photographers because there was a lot of people there documenting it. And then I was so frustrated. I'm like, how are we all documenting this, but the news isn't here documenting our story, and they're not telling our side of it. It just seemed like, oh, there's some. I seen one headline like, is it savages or prayerful warriors? It looks like they're savages. They're tearing up machinery or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy how this just so negative. But if it bleeds, it leads. That's what our news kind of runs with. And being up there for a while, we got solar panels. Everyone was donating. I actually went up there specifically to be like a woodcutter. I was like, all right, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna cut wood for the fire. And so I ended up not doing that. There was a school up there. I have a background in working with kids. And the kids, they were awesome. Like I got there and they were like, hey, here's a football. They throw the football to me. I'm like, okay, this is just like back home. Like there's kids, they need attention. All these adults are kind of doing things. I was like, you know what? I know where my role is to help facilitate with the school. School had a really cool name. It was Water Protectors, School of the Water Protectors. I was like, oh, that's kind of dope. A lady that I was working with was Elena Eagle Shield. She had a really dope, like the names jumped out to me. I'm like, man, this is kind of like really, really cool for me. And so I meet Thomas. His family is amazing. His mom, Patty, his brother, Natez, sisters, Ken's like Todd. It was just some really, really cool people that I never met. And they were so loving with me. And Thomas actually he had to go back to California to get supplies or something with his job. So I ended up going back with him. And I took pictures of our journey in going back. And I've never seen nature how I seen it. We went through, I don't know what the highway it is. It's Northwest something. But we went through Idaho, the Badlands, Montana, Oregon. He showed me, I think it's Malmouth Falls. We were driving along the Columbia River right after it rained, and like there was water like coming off the cliffs. It was so shiny and green. I was just like, what is this? And he's like, yeah, that's bad, isn't it? So like he showed me something that I'd never seen in nature, because I grew up in Omaha and like, it's really flat here. I never really been anywhere to see nature like that. And for me, it really spoke to me, and I'm like, wow, like what else have I been missing? And so he taught me a lot about the decolonization of even the native, the indigenous people like me. Like I was separated, and now I'm reconnecting and learning my roots. And so for me, like the connection point was, it was so strong because Standing Rock was a huge risk for me. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna do this. And so I'm learning all of this, and I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be. The creator is supposed to have me in this space to learn uh, in a way that's going to be beneficial for my kids. And I actually had a picture of my daughter and stuff, and I wanted to show that. But when I look at her, like she has very, very thick hair, long hair, and I just see like a little native baby. I don't know if anyone has kids or have seen Moana, but she looks like a little Moana. Her name is Keali, but we call her Mama, so I call her Mamwana. I was like, Mamwana, come here. But in decolonization, like my lens, it was very much not only whitewashed, but it was washing of our society. And so I'm relearning that. And one of the takeaways I took from Thomas, I kept saying, "Oh man, you doing that white boy shit, that white boy," and he's like, "Yo, stop saying that." I was like, "What you mean? Like, this is what white boys do." He was like, "No, we do this. Like, this is Indian shit. Like, we taught them how to do this, to be in the mountains, to surf and all." I'm like, wow, like, and it really warped my perspective. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, you're right. I'm watching the movies, I'm watching TV, and it's shaping how I see people who are in nature. When my people, we live where we're caretakers of the land. We live with the land. Unfortunately, nowadays we live on the land, because if you go outside, you're not stepping on the land. You're stepping on concrete. We're stepping on gravel. We're stepping on things that separates us. So there's a buffer there. And when I went to his res, it's just like our res. Like, there's not a lot of sidewalks, so you're very close to nature. You're walking on the grass. But you see people. You see them in close proximity. And that community, I didn't have that. I lived in a community, but I didn't have community. So, um, and then one of the other big things that I learned from being in nature, and to honor my people, I'd always, every time we met someone, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm half black, half native." And Thomas, he kept looking at me like, he was just kind of gauging me when he wanted to share this like nugget of information. And then he was like, "Yo, why do you say you're half black and half native?" I was like, "Because I am." He's like, "So you wake up one day and like, oh, I'm 50% black today. Oh, I'm 50% native today." He's like, "You're 100% of who you are. When you say you're a percentage, you limit your indigenous roots. You limit your ancestral black roots. Like, you're that 100% of the time." And when I heard that, I was like, wow, like, that's incredible. And one of the things he shared with me recently was that he has these meetings with you guys actually all heard it, but people introduce themselves, and then they'll say, "I'm so and so from so and so." And as indigenous people, like when I introduce myself, I'm Omaha tribe, and so unfortunately, a lot of people, black and white, we don't say where we're from. We just say, "Oh, I'm so and so," and then we just kind of, you don't say, "Oh, I'm white," or "I'm Scottish," or "I'm German." But as indigenous people, we have to walk around with pride in saying that, because we're the voice of the unheard. If we don't say that, then we just kind of get like, "Oh yeah, you guys are something else." I mean, I don't know if you guys seen recently, there was something in the news how we were categorized as something else, and we didn't even get a distinction. And so for people that come from being caretakers of the earth, and seeing how there's no credit being, not even credit, it's not even acknowledgement there. And so for me, like, Standing Rock was this eye-opening, career shifting experience that really painted a picture for me of like, hey, you need to reconnect with your roots, um, and so I can have a stronger foundation. Let's see what else I have here. So I had pictures, and this is it's all good. Let's see. So I'm thankful that on a gut instinct, it connected me. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, it connected me. But one of the things too that we were battling with is corporations, and the corporations, their mindset is, "Oh, you guys would be good. Like, this is about profit." They don't look at human beings. They don't look at the future. Whereas we all think about the future. We got mortgages, we got savings. Everyone thinks about the future, but corporations, they think about the next year's bottom line. Like, all right, what does it look like? We got to, all right, we'll make sure we'll do some studies to say that it looks good later on down the line. And so that separation creates this gap. And I feel like, I understand they have a job, like that, we all have a job. They want to make sure they're shareholders and all that's cool and good. But when I met Thomas and I met his family and what they do, I kind of started, rocking with them. One time I went to San Francisco. Literally, it was like a Tuesday. There was an event happening down there. It's called the Climate Justice Awareness something. It was it was a big thing basically against carbon markets, saying that carbon markets aren't saving anything because you're actually running it up, burning things. And so I went down there. He was like, yeah, man, you should come down. I looked online. It was like a $46 ticket there and back. I was like, how can I not? And so I went down there. I took pictures. I did some small videos for them. And it was just another piece of me that was still fighting the fight of water is life, because the biggest threat to from corporations is our water resources on all the coasts around the world. The first people to be affected by global warming are indigenous people. And so it was just that synergy that I had from Standing Rock that carried me over to that. And then recently, actually, Thomas came down. He's again from Northern California. The Klamath River is dammed up, and there are Buffett dams up there. Warren Buffett's, I think, is Midwest something. Thomas, you could probably put it in the chat, but he has a company, and they have dams, and they're supposed to remove them because they're hurting the fishing, or the salmon runs. The salmon come up and they swim back down, but that's their life. They live on the river, and so he came down. He was like, "Hey, man, you're in Omaha. Yo, we got this thing. We got this action that's happening Friday." I was like, "Yeah, come down, come down." So he came down. I took pictures. We documented it, and that's still the fight that I have. Like, I'm able to want to help because that is important. That connection with nature and being mindful of our future. And again, I'm supposed to have a picture of my daughter here, but being mindful of that, and it's always with me. And then I'm just like, "Yeah, come down." He comes down. He goes back up, and it's just kind of cool to see like the connection that I have now, like that what I'm doing is very, very important for everyone, not just indigenous people. This is important for everybody, because they may not realize it, but we're caught up in a rat race. So in that, there's people have a responsibility, and I feel like that's my responsibility after hearing all of this knowledge, hearing all of this wisdom. I'm like, wow, you're right. There's no way we can break the master's, tear down the master's home with the master's tools. And so the way that we can combat and actually solve global warming is the ancestral tools, the ancestral wisdom of our indigenous people. When we start tapping into that, we actually can do something that has some fight in the game. And these things that corporations are like, "Hey, yeah, we'll do this." They're only saying that because it's not really going to mess with their profits. If they really wanted to do some good, then they'll listen to us. They'll listen to the people who've been caretakers of the land. And so it's, for me, I'm just like, this fight will continue with me. It's going to continue after me. But it's a fight that I feel like we owe Mother Earth. And it's insane to me, because when I read that excerpt, that these men are doing their jobs, and I get it, they're doing their jobs. So do we. Thank you. I want to end there. Had some other stuff, but I just want to end there. So.